Right. Content and regression makes sense to you. It's pretty clear how you can take a bunch of data, let's say for period one, whether it's again past behavior, marketing activities, competition, whatever, to predict something about period two. Whether it's number of purchases, whether it's number of someone stays with us or not, it's really really important to be able to do that. Unfortunately, those techniques are very common. They are very accessible. You don't necessarily need to have a special software. You can do it in something as simple as Microsoft Excel. In fact, today I want to talk about an example where people were doing that kind of thing long before they had any kind of computational power that we have today or even rich data that we have today. I want to take you back to 1960s or probably early 70s. It was the dawn of what today we know as direct marketing. It really was when a lot of these ideas about consumer analytics was born. It was the first time we really had any kind of granularity. And you have to understand this granularity, what we understand today, is not the same granularity it was then. About any particular customer we're doing and a desire to know what each and every one of these customers would be doing next and for how long they will stay with us and how much money do they have or how much money do they spend on us. So it became very important for companies to come up with what we call today KPIs, key performance indicators. Can we look at some indicators of what people are doing in the past in order to make some accurate statements about what they are likely to do in the future? And again, this is just a natural area to run something like a regression model, and indeed, regression models were used for this kind of purpose. But it wasn't, say, let's throw tons and tons of data because, you know, data was limited. Part of it, the computational power is limited. So we have to think very carefully what kind of data we're going to put into our model. I mean, today you put 100 rows of 100 columns of data, and the computer can effectively do it very easily. I mean, think about 60s and 70s. I mean, the best machines in the world had 56 kilobyte of RAM. You can't just throw in data, right? It was very, very important for us to come up with just few measures that would be fairly predictive of what consumers would be worth in the future. So our forefathers in direct marketing, they basically did the kinds of things what we're talking about here. Let's take our data set. Let's chop into two pieces. Let's collect some data from period one in which elements of that period one data would be very predictive of what people will do in period two. Again, let's take data from period one and try to predict what happens in period two or what people do in period two. And again, period two would be looking at how many purchases they made or what was the dollar value of those customers. And they ran lots of models to find which bits of data from period one were the most predictive one. And they did it over and over and over again in different kinds of data sets and lots of different kinds of product, different kind of geographies, lots of different kind of customer segments, because we really wanted to find few of those explanatory variables that were robust and that and time and again that would prove to be predictive. Remember the dilemma. The data is not as granular as we understand granularity today. The computation power is very limited, so they have to be very right, right? So this is where our forefathers in direct marketing came up with the idea of RFM: recency, frequency, and monetary value. What they found out time and again, and back in 60s and 70s, and we still see this true today in this 21st century, is that you give me these three summary metrics. You give me recency, you give me frequency, you give me monetary value. You tell me the last time someone made a purchase with me, that is recency, or some kind of economically valuable activity. Maybe they took a sales call, maybe they visited the website. Well, there was no website in those days. Or they did something that suggests that they are going to become more valuable customer. Give me that data point. That is recency. And generally, we are talking about purchase in this case. So that's R, that's recency. Now tell me about frequency. Tell me how many purchases they made or how many economically beneficial activities they did over a set period of time. Let's say last year or last two or so forth. And third, what would be the monetary value? But I think that's pretty explanatory. I mean, how much they purchased from me. So when they did those economically beneficial activities, what was the overall or the average monetary value of each? So you give me RFM, recency, frequency, and monetary value. I can make a very accurate statement about the customer's going to be worth in period two. Again, this is one of the first areas where regression analysis was used in marketing. In two parts. First, they used a lot of other variables and came to the conclusion that these three pieces of information was the most important. And they used the regression again to find the value of how valuable that customer was using this three information. It was one of the first ways for folks in marketing to say, you know what, all of this data that we have been collecting, not really sure what to do with it. Oh, there's a real value here. We can really predict stuff. And then we can start to change our business to take advantage of these insights about what's likely to happen in the future, not just what happened in the past. So I just want to put RFM out there. It's a nice example of application of kinds of things that we have talked about earlier. We'll take this a little further, but this is what I want you to take away. Whenever you are in marketing analytics, RFM is your mantra. Recency, frequency, and monetary value. Somehow come up with the data to measure this about your possible customers, or your past customers, or your future customers, or anybody. Some data set, and some business R means something, F means something, M means something. Again, anyhow, find some way to measure recency. Last time you've been to the website, last time you took the call or something, last time you bought from us. Frequency, how often you do that. And what is the monetary value? In some business, it might be how much you have spent on us, and in another case, how much you're capable of spending us, things like this. These three are the most important data sets in marketing.